Okay, so this is question 1 of the tenacious test 1, I guess. We are given an arithmetic sequence. We have 2p plus 3, that's the first term, p plus 6, that's the second term, and p minus 2. And the first question basically asks us to calculate p. Essentially the question says show that p is equal to 11. So they kind of helped us out, telling us that p is 11, but we just need to show the workings for that. The second question says to show that the smallest value, or in fact determine the smallest value of n for which Tn, which is your formula or your pattern, will be less than negative 55. So what's the smallest value of n for which this pattern will have terms that are less than negative 55? And then the last question, very straightforward question. They just say calculate the sum of the first 18 terms. Now we have a formula for this, so that question should be no problem. Let's start off with our first question. Okay, so with this arithmetic pattern, we notice that term 2 minus term 1 is equal to term 3 minus term 2. So now we can just go ahead and substitute our values in. The reason why I can make this statement is because we should have a constant difference. So the difference between these two terms should be exactly the same as the difference between these two terms. Okay, so let's substitute. My second term is p plus 6. Now I need to minus my first term. But since there are two terms, two terms part of the first term, I want to put brackets around that. So basically just to emphasize that I'm minusing the 2p, but I'm also minusing the 3. Okay, so it's not just this that gets subtracted, but the 3 as well. And I'll do the same thing here. My third term is p minus 2, and my second term is the p plus 6. As you can see, I'm putting brackets around this to indicate that I'll be minusing the p and the 6. Now, most learners tend to forget about these brackets, and that's why they always get this kind of question wrong. But other than that, there should be no problems here. This is just basic algebra. We could multiply out. So this becomes negative 2p minus 3, and this becomes negative p minus 6. You're allowed to group your p's, so let's start here. That's p minus 2p, which is just negative p. And if you take, since we have negative p on this side, I'll just write it down. And if you look at these p's, that's positive p and minus p. They just cancel each other out. Okay. So let's have a look at our numbers. We have 6 minus 3. That is just positive 3. Right? But when you take the positive 3 over, you're going to have to minus it from whatever you have on this side. Okay, so what do we have on this side? We have a negative 2, and we have a negative 6, so that is negative 8. And once you minus this, when you take the 3 that we got here, you take it over, you need to minus that as well. So you have minus 11. Divide by the negative 1, p is equal to 11. Okay, that was a piece of cake. Like I said, the main issue with this question is over here with the brackets. Let's now substitute the fact that we know p is equal to 11 into our terms and actually work out what the first, second, and third term is. Okay, so our first term is going to be 2 times 11, which is 22. Plus 3, that's 25. 11 plus 6 is just 17. And 11 minus 2, that's just 9. Okay. So this is the first 3 terms of our pattern. We can just work out a general formula for this. That always helps. So I'll just go ahead and do that on the side here. This would be Tn equal to, I'll just write the formula out first. Okay, A is my first term, that's a 25. D is my difference. We are minusing 8 each time, so the difference is negative 8. Very important, don't just write the 8, please put the negative there as well. Okay, so the negative 8, once you multiply it in, we'll have a negative 8n. Negative 8 times the negative 1, that gives us a positive 8. We'll have to add that to the 25, and that should give us 33. Okay, so here we can conclude that Tn, which is our general formula, that is equal to negative 8n plus 33. Okay, so this is useful for our next question, because in the next question, they ask us to find the value of n for which Tn is less than negative 55. Okay, so basically, where is this pattern, where is this arithmetic sequence less than that? Or determine the smallest value of n for which this pattern will be less than that. So I'll just substitute that in here. And we'll work it out by taking the 33 across. So negative 55 minus the 33, that gives us negative 88. Careful now, because when you divide by a negative, the sign must swap. So I'll put it like that. 88 divided by 8, that's just 11. Okay, so here you can see now that n has to be some number that's bigger than 11. And the smallest number that is bigger than 11 is actually the number 12. So it's basically the 12th term. The 12th term will be the smallest number, or the smallest number for n that will produce a term that is less than negative 55. And you can actually test that with your formula. If you substitute 12 in here, you'll get something that is less than negative 55. All the other terms after 12 is also less than 55, but 12 is the smallest term that will be less than that. 11 is actually equal to 55 or negative 55, and that's why we can't use it, because they never asked for n that is equal to. They asked for n that is less than. You know, that would give us an answer that is less than this, not equal to this. Okay, almost done. Just to finish up the last question. So they basically asked us to work out the sum of the first 18 terms. So we'll start with our sum formula. And just in case you forgot what the pattern was, what was our progression now again? I actually forgot. So it was 25, then it went to 17, and then it went to 9. And the difference was negative 8. Okay, so we'll substitute that into our formula. Keep in mind we are working out the sum of the first 18 terms. So I'll substitute 18 with n. A is my first term, 25. N again is the 18. And D, our difference, is the negative 8. Again, whenever you write negative numbers or negative terms, I would appreciate it if you just put those brackets around the negative values. Okay, it really helps. It helps when you're doing the calculation on your calculator, and it just helps you perceive things a bit better. Okay, so do this calculation in your calculator, and that should kick out the correct answer. And the answer I get is negative 774. And there you go. That's it.